record this. All right. I'm super excited for this. I haven't done a training like this in quite a while. I did like 30, 40 of them last year, a couple going into this year, but I do enjoy them. And I think this one will be a little bit unique because, well, my plan is just to build. And if you guys have any questions as I go about building things, then you just hop in and ask the question. It's a little bit like I used to stream on Twitch as well, and that's what I would do. It's just I'd be building, and if anyone asked a question in the chat or had a violent reaction or a comment, then I would respond to that in kind. So that's my plan here is to build things with you. I feel like the value there is one, you get to see my thought process for how I build things. Two, you get to see me solve problems in real time because things will break. And that'll be fun. Three, well, you get to use the result of most of the things that I build. And today is no exception to that. So let's get started. Gotta make sure my screens are all good. Drag some things around. Cool. One last thing to pull up. Wrapping up a post-mortem, says Jessica. Ooh. I hope that's in software. Maybe something didn't go quite as planned. That's just an awesome thing to say when you hop in a call. Like, sorry. Just wrapping up a postmortem real quick. Don't mind me. Just have to let people know why things died. Oh, that's awesome. That's epic. Okay. Um, all right. Sorry, I should have been more organized before I hopped up, but I'm flying by the seat of my pants today. Right. Doo-doo. Right. And gorgeous. All right. Okay, we are ready to go, friends. We're ready to go. All right, let me share my screen. We will hop into this. Now, today, we are going to be building something I'm going to call the SmartSuite NoCode Software Selector. it's, it's a mouthful. And ideally, we're going to try and build it in the next 55 minutes. And like I said, if there are just any questions that you have, thoughts you have, if you think there's perhaps a better way to build it, uh, let me know. Just hop up and just start talking. Other than that, I'm going to be building and I'm going to be describing my thought process as I go about building out this piece of software specifically. Now, this SmartSuite NoCode Software Selector came from so I have 5 interviews that I've had this week with aspiring developers, people who are wanting to get into the no-code space, create their dream software. And I think 4 of them, if not all 5 of them, said, how do I know? How do I determine which tool to use to solve my problem? How do I find the right tool for my problem? And I have a process for this. I have a system. And perhaps before I jump into building this out, I'll show you the system so you can see where this NoCode Software Selector kind of fits in that system. So we're going to be using this SmartSuite app to build it. We're going to build this NoCode Software Selector on top of it. But first, we're going to start off over here with this beautiful design document. So design documents are my approach to solving this problem of determining which softwares to use. Now, I'm calling this the SmartSuite Software Selector, so it's a little bit of, okay, how does this design document help me determine which softwares to use when I already included the name in here, right? That's perhaps not the best example I could provide, but stick with me. I promise that having a design document will not only help you determine which softwares to choose to build out your solution, it will also clarify so many different parts of your build for yourself so that you can communicate them to others and also communicate it back to yourself, which is a very important thing that a lot of people tend to miss. If you cannot describe clearly to you what you're trying to do, the likelihood of you succeeding in building that thing is very low because you don't even know what the thing is. Full stop, right? And so having a design document creates clarity for you. So you can describe it and you can know, hey, I have an understanding of where I'm trying to go. Now, this is pulled from a template that I have put together, and I promised I would send that template to every person who registered for this call. So I'll send that in an email after this video is over, after we finish our build. But this is just one application of that template, and you can reuse that template as often as you would like. So I break this into 3.5 different things. The first one is this problem, solution, and result, one-liner. And the half is the target. I feel like the target is kind of sits inside of the problem because the problem needs to have an individual who has that problem, and you need to be able to correctly describe them. Otherwise, well, what you're building likely won't stick, it won't land. So my target is aspiring developers. And I could even get more specific and say aspiring no-code developers, developers who would like to build software without any code. And the pain is they don't know which software to choose. So the purchasing power, I just said minimal. I was talking with someone who's like, I don't even want to pay for the subscriptions on some of these no-code tools. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, I totally get it. That's why a lot of them have free tiers. So easy to target, yes. I would say yes. Many of my friends are developers and they are interested in being able to build software faster than they are right now. And is it growing? Heck yeah. I feel like there are more aspiring developers every single day, especially with AI coming into the mix over the past year and a half, just has created an explosion of possibility. So additional criteria for me personally are, it's like, do you have a personal connection with these people? And this is useful when you're trying to sell the software to somebody or find someone to use it, find someone to beta test it, guinea pig it, and some qualifying questions that you can ask or that people can ask or you can ask them so they can weed themselves out. That's right. So there might be aspiring no-code developers who don't struggle with this. I actually know one of them. Like, he's chosen his tools. He doesn't care about any others. He isn't struggling with this. So I can ask him this question. He could say no. And I'm like, perfect. You don't want to use this piece of software because it doesn't help you. Right? So once we have the target, we can start to jump into the problem, solution, result one-liner. And these are your marketing. It's the marketing to yourself. It's the marketing to others. It gives you a 30-second pitch. And I got this structure from a book called Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller. And he says the first thing you want to do when you're putting together your marketing program is define the problem, the solution, and the result. The problem gives a reason to the solution. A lot of people just start with the solution and they're like, What problem do you solve? What do you do? And so when you start with the problem, you say aspiring developers struggle to find the right no-code solution for their problem. Right? That's the problem that my software here is targeting specifically. The solution is the SmartSuite Software Selector. I just needed to have as many S's as I possibly could. Provides a 5-minute form that lets the individual answer a series of questions that tell the user which softwares will best fit their needs. In under 5 minutes, right? So in 5 minutes, the result, in 5 minutes, any aspiring developer can know exactly what software they need to build their dream. So putting these three things together gives me a 30-second pitch that I can use to describe what this software is going to do and the outcome it's going to create. So all of these is just kind of you doing your own thing. Now, software requirements is where, ironically, where this software, the SmartSuite Software Selector actually comes into play. Because there are lots of different questions you can ask yourself. Essentially, what are the requirements of the software? What kind of data needs to be held? Do people need to log into it? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much customizability is needed for the interface? Do you want a dedicated app with personal branding? Right? There are lots of different questions you can ask, and these are the ones that I have found to be the most pertinent to determining which no-code tools to use. And a quick aside on this, if you are a software developer, you might recognize this approach as the model view controller that you like paradigm or framework that you might use when building out a piece of software using React or on like an iOS app or an Android app. The premise is you have data that is stored. You have a view or an interface that presents that data. And in between those two things, you have a controller that manages the logic, that fetches the data, manipulates it, and passes it to the interface to be displayed. And I took this framework and said, okay, it's really good at the micro level when you're building an actual like one piece of software on an iOS app, for example. But it's also good to look at in the no-code space as determining which tools do what. Because there will be no-code tools that manage your back-end data structures. And that is their purpose. That's what they do. That's what they specialize in. And then there are other no-code tools that manage your front end and displaying the information from the data. And then there are other no-code tools that specifically focus on being your controller, managing your logic, giving you API endpoints that let your view query information from your data or your model. And so I've split all of the softwares into one of these three buckets. Now, some softwares will span all three of them. SmartSuite is a great example of a software that can do all three of these for you at the cost of flexibility on interface, branding. So the view is a bit more structured, and there's less you can do with it there. The controller is also less structured. Like you can do all three in one software, but you lose capability outside of that. Right? There's always trade-offs. There's always pros and cons. And so these qualifying questions are what we're going to be using to build our software today. Because the SmartSuite Software Selector is going to have a form with all of these questions on it. And it will use that form along with this list of no-code tools to determine, or the answers to those questions, to determine which softwares we're going to present to people. So that's what we're going to be building today, is this SmartSuite Software Selector, so that knowing which softwares to use to build your dream is no longer a question or a problem. And our software stack specifically is just SmartSuite. I could probably throw in here and probably say Zapier maybe. That's probably a good thing to throw in there. The glue to send an email. So hopping over here to look at the flow. This is our SmartSuite no-code software selector. I've defined this flow a little bit here. Find viable no-code tools. The user will answer all the questions in this document. So all the questions here. They will submit that form. Using those answers, the user will be able to see which softwares are best for their use case. If the user wants to edit, they must submit a new form. I'll say send them an email with a link to their answers. This is my approach right now. That's what this looks like. So there's a SmartSuite form that I'm going to create. Once they submit that, we're going to send them an email. And that email will take them to a SmartSuite dashboard, a publicly available database, so they can look at the answers to their questions and see the no-code apps that they can use to build what they have said they would like to build here. So our step one is to create our SmartSuite form. Now, I'm just going to build this directly inside of this app. I'm actually going to create a new table, perhaps. Oh, I might not have permission to do so. And sometimes Zoom is really getting in my way here. It's so annoying. You guys probably can't see it, but there's like a thing like right here that's over all of my buttons. I don't know how to move it. So if you guys know how to move it, let me know. It like used to be at the top of my screen, but now it's just hovering in the middle. We're gonna try. Click on that. Okay. Yep. I thought I had permission to add tables. I was looking at this and I was reviewing this, but I don't have permission to add tables. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna recreate some of it. Again, we're already running into problems. My brother put this together, and sadly, I don't have permission to do this, but it's a public view, so anybody can see this. So hopefully I can perhaps pull information from this into my own no-code app. So we're going to hop back to, I'm just going to pull this off screen because I don't want to show you guys any of the things. I'm going to hop over to my account, and we're going to create a form in my account using a new solution. Let's start from scratch. NoCode Software Selector. Oop. All right, so I've created a new solution inside of SmartSuite. I think someone said something in the chat. Oh, okay. Let me keep that chat open. That seems important. You can ask him in the chat. Now I'm looking at it. Sorry, John. Thanks for your patience. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I just did, and that was helpful. So here we are. Okay, so we're going to have a table, and this table is going to hold all of our fields that are needed in our form. And so we're going to just call this NoCode Software Requests for now. I think that's good. And I tend to just delete all of these fields because I don't really want them. I need to move that now too. Delete that. I think we can delete this side too. There's an order to the deletion of these fields because some of them are reliant on each other. And I did it in the right order. Perfect. Okay, so first things first, we're going to rename this title and just call it, just say it's a request. I won't make it required. I don't really want it to be required. This is just a primary field. It's on all SmartSuite records. And now we're going to say, well, we don't care about their name, right? I do want to request their email address as part of this interaction. So we are going to definitely include that. But let's see, what do we need? We're going to have a lot of questions. So perhaps what I do is I pull this up and I pull it on the side, collapse that, and then we just start to go through each of these questions. And a lot of them are yes, no, which is really nice and actually desired. We're gonna, perhaps for the sake of time to just try and get all of this built, I'm going to go through a couple of these and only create a couple of fields. So we're going to say, will users need to log into the application? And that's a Boolean. That's yes, no. Call it needs authentication, and we'll add that field. That's that. Needs a subscription. Stores files. I keep searching there. That's that. Okay. Now on a scale of 1 to 10, so this one will probably be a slider, maybe a single select. Interface and customizability. We'll say high, I can type, medium, low. Add that field. Personal branding. Again, add field. And let's hop down into this controller area. How many users will be in your app? And we'll do another single select for that. Many users. Say less than 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, 10,000 plus. All right. Do you need a host to host a dedicated server? I won't add any of these other questions. We have all the questions that we need now to make some rudimentary decisions on which softwares to select. And now we're going to just simply create a form out of all of these. So I'm gonna, gravity map view. Where's my X? Is that it? Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Oh, joy. That was awesome. Behold, all of my apps. Got a skill gamer, a chatbot demo, live leveler. We are looking at the NoCode Software Selector. Hopping back in. We shouldn't need those questions anymore. We just need to create a form that we can display to people. Boom, form. And it'll be NoCode software request form. I want this to be public. We're going to create the view. And now we're just going to start kind of dragging things in. Fill out this form to the NoCode software. Fill out this form to know which NoCode tools to use in your app. And now we just drag things out. So I can add a video, CAPTCHA, call out, divider. But I am going to just kind of work from the bottom here. Say, I'll add the request. I'm going to add the needs authentication first. And I'm going to even create put a divider in here. Can I name this or enter label? Yeah. So this will be the data requirements. Fill out the software requirements. So we've got our data requirements here. We have the request, the authentication, definitely stores files. I wonder if I can put them in a row. I do want to require all of these. Need subscription. Required. Next up is interface requirements, which would be interface customizability and personal branding. And last but not least is our, I want to call it backend requirements. That's not exactly what it is. I'll put controller in here. I don't think most people are going to understand the word controller, but we will see. And then just how many users are they going to have? Okay, so we've created our form. They can click submit. So this first piece is good to go. Now, there's additional work that we will need to do on this. So I'm kind of looking at this and I'm thinking maybe we just tackle that first to make sure that it's working as intended, because I'm going to need to create another table with the list of softwares, just some test softwares that I can use to play with. And then what this form is going to do and what this information is going to do specifically is work off of the data in the no-code space, like the no-code tools, to know which ones to pull in, which ones to query. And hopefully that is making sense. So we're going to skip this send email piece and just start building our SmartSuite dashboard, pretty much. Let's do that. We have our form. We know it'll work. We can request information. So now we're going to create a new table, which is no-code tools. Let's call it that. And I'm going to delete this. Just going to do the same thing I did last time because I don't need any of these assigned fields or anything like that. And now pretty much what we're going to do is for each of these questions, we just need to have a field in the no-code tools that matches this and just says, yes, we allow authentication. No, we don't store files. Da, 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 da. Right. And we also need a tool that lets us know what kind, a field that lets us know what kind of data is required. So the first thing we're going to do is a single select. Actually, no, I want this to be a multiple select. So we're going to change that. Multi-select. And this will be I'll call it a no-code tool type. And we will have model or data. We will have the view or interface. And last but not least, we will have the controller or backend. Add that field. Next up, we're going to have a yes, no. It says handles, and that I could actually, instead of putting all of these in the same table, realizing I could probably split them out into different tables, but no, we wouldn't want to do that. The thought I had was we could have one table for data, one table for model, not model, controller or backend, one table for view. But since we want, like some tools like SmartSuite will span all three, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we want them to all be in the same area. So we'll just say handles authentication. Add that field. And then handles subscription. And then we want to, I think it was handle supports file uploads, something like that. I'm gonna keep searching. Let's just make sure I'm all right. So it stores files, needs subscription, needs authentication. Okay, so that's all the information we need for data requirements. Next up is interface requirements. Yes, no. Flexibility. Oh, this won't be yes, no. This will be a single select. And I'm going to have it match the exact thing from the other. So high, medium, and just do low. And I'm going to rename that because that's not a good name. And what else what was the next one? Personal branding. So I guess I feel like I probably could have just duplicated this table now that I'm looking at it. Just rename these fields instead of going through all of these. Uh, and then we have how many users? And the how many users one is a little bit interesting, but it'll be kind of a, let's just say, like a cost per user field. And this will be, let me get a currency. All right, so now we have all the information we need. I'm going to create a new record here. I'm just going to call it FlutterFlow. And I'll say this no-code tool type is view, 100% view, handles authentication. Not necessarily, we don't care about these three. We care about interface design, flexibility, which is high, and personal branding, which is a yes. And cost per user is actually going to be 0. So this field will only be applicable to controllers. We don't care about that. So next we'll add SmartSuite. And this one is going to be all three of them. Done. Update the row size to auto size so I can see all those. It doesn't necessarily handle authentication. It doesn't necessarily handle subscription. It does support file upload, so we can upload files. Interface design flexibility, I'm going to say relatively low. Personal branding, you can put some personal branding in there via dashboards. Cost per user, I actually don't know what the cost per user is, but I think it starts around maybe 5, maybe it's 20. I'm not sure, somewhere around there. So I'll start with the minimum. And then I guess the last one, I'll add build ship so we can see what's there. This is a controller. It cost per user is very minimal, say like 10 cents. And then last but not least, we have, I'll say Supabase, which is a backend tool for managing data. It does handle authentication. It does handle subscriptions, and it handles file uploads. Okay, so we have our data for our no-code tools in place. We have our no-code software requests in place. Now the last thing to do is link these two so that I can pull in data from the no-code tools based on the responses in here, right? So I'm going to filter out and essentially choose a software stack for them. That's the idea. And we're going to query information from the no-code tools and display it based on answers here. And we're going to do that using formulas. And it might also be linked fields. So I think we can do it using just regular old formulas. So if I add a formula and I go into advanced mode, and this is good. This is where we get to the point where I'm like, all right, this is where I'm learning. Because I'm pretty sure I've seen someone just take a look at or like query fields in another table across solutions. And maybe I saw them do it in a dashboard, which is probably why I said SmartSuite dashboard here instead of fields. So as we can see, I'm not the greatest expert here. I'm still learning this amazing tool called SmartSuite. I've seen people do what I'm trying to do. So now we're going to do it together, and I'll be completely honest with you. I planned on watching some videos before I hopped on this training. But I mean, this is when you're building no-code software or just building software in general, you always hit a point where you're like, you know what? I don't really know how to solve that problem. So we're going to figure it out. So we are going to see what the best solution to this is, because what I need to do is query information in the no-code tools section based on answers in this no-code software request, because people will be filling out this form. In the future, I'll send them an email using Zapier or something similar, or if SmartSuite can do that for me, I'll even set it up there. And then that email will link them straight to the SmartSuite dashboard so they can view their record that they created. And just to show what that looks like, without saving. If I come in here and I share the form, I make it public, I just pop that out. So here's the form we just put together. Say, I want to build something cool. Authentication is not required. Source files is not required. Need subscription, also not required. Interface customizability, low. I'll call this the NoCode Software Selector. Personal branding, yeah, sure, I want that. How many users? I'll go big. I'll say we're going to have 100 users for this app, right? That's how many we're going to have. We'll hit submit. And it was submitted. And now if we just go back to the tool here and take a look at the grid view, we can see this record that I just created. I want to build something cool. NoCode Software Selector. Personal branding was checked. How many users? 100 to 1,000. Interface customizability low. So this is what will happen. And what I would like to have is to show them the list of softwares based on these answers from the no-code tools. Now, this is the third time I've said it. And the reason I've said it 3 times is because I'm allowing my brain time to think through how we might approach this. Now we're going to test out version 1 of what I think might work using formulas. And the first thing I'm going to click on is this little icon up here to learn more about formulas. For grid view, when to use formulas, create customized text, compare dates. Cool, we got the field limit note. Very based on plan types, so 30 link records, 30 lookups. Good to know. I am limited. Field properties. Formula fields can be added and named just like any other field. Yes, I know this. I know that. My question is, can I just look at a table and get its information? And formatting functions and operators. Let's take a look at this. So SmartSuite use SmartSuite to create a formula, operators, and functions table. And so we are going to take a look at this. Just going to check out the live demo. So looking at it, as I'm just reading through it, it doesn't look like there is the ability to just slap in another field or like reference another table, I should say. If I want to reference no code, nothing pops up here. So I'm hesitant to say that formulas are going to be our answer. So I'm going to stop working on that just immediately because I can't query information from this other table. And we are going to create a new dashboard. I'll make it public. We'll create this view. So my idea is a record display. Let's have a record selector specifically. It's showing me an example of what it'll look like. This is totally fine. I do want it to select the NoCode software requests. And the selection dropdown, I can select fields to display. I guess the request, the primary field is already there. I don't really care about anything else, so I'm just going to stick with that. I'll just click on Add Widget. So now we have a record selector. Now we're going to add, I believe, it's going to be not the record selector, but perhaps record details. I just want to make sure that it's not related social media, utilities, data schema. Oh, custom code. Cool. That's not what we want. Video charts. We don't care about videos. What do we use? Grid view, calendar view, chart, Gantt, timeline, map. Oh, don't want any of those. Actions. Oh, we don't care about that. So we are going to do a record detail. And source is going to be, oh, record selector. Interesting. Okay. So I have to choose these. All right, so we need authentication, we need subscription, stores files, interface customizability, personal branding. We'll just add all of our fields in here. How many users? We really only care about those. I found those style, white, neutral, custom. We'll go with neutral. So now, depending on the record that I've selected, it'll change what's available or shown to me here. That's still not exactly what I want. I want to query information across tables. And I was told that I could do this. So, gosh darn it, friends, we're going to figure this out. I feel like it has to be the record details, but the source can only be this one record selector. So perhaps they must be related in some way. And so maybe I need an automation that will automatically relate all of the fields or all of the no-code softwares based on the answers that I've provided. And I need to set up an automation that will do that. So that might be the third step. So we've just to keep track of what we're doing. First, it was, can a formula do this? And I think the answer is no. Second is a dashboard. Can a dashboard do this out of the box? I say query records from another table dynamically, like without linking them. And I think the conclusion so far is that the formula and the dashboard is no. So we need an automation to link once the record is created, so that we can use the dashboard to show them the information that they need and send them the email. Or I guess in this case, like we would just use their same record that they created and just present that back to them. Or maybe even just send them an email with the information directly. So this is looking like the potential result of what we are going to need to do. Before I dive into this too deeply, because I thought there was going to be a simpler solution to this, I think we're 45 minutes in, and so I'm gonna pause. My headphone just died. So we're gonna put it in a different thing. I'm gonna pause and just say, this is how I learned how to build with new tools. And it's basically the equivalent of, let's find something we want to build. And let's just see how quickly we can throw it together and how fast we fail, and then we solve the problems along the way. I feel like we have done an amazing job of making pretty great progress today. I think I don't want to dive too deeply into automations live on this call. I'm just not sure how useful it will be for you guys, but if you'd like me to keep going, I definitely can. Just let me know. Does SmartSuite have a way to attach an action to the form submission? Yes. So that is the automations. And if I can find the automations. Okay. So we got integrations and we have automations. So we can add a trigger. So when a record matches a condition, when a record is created, updated, or submitted, when a webhook is received, it's coming soon, a scheduled time. You can also integrate it with Gmail or Outlook. So for us, it'd be when a record is created, then we want to, here's all the things we can do. So in this case, we probably want to update our record. And when a record is created inside of NoCode Software Requests, that's perfect. We would want to um, go through and, well, maybe we're already here. Might as well just dive into it, right? So what we're going to need to do before we dive into this, I'm going to just add this automation. So we'll see, does it give error? Yes. Keep it off. That's totally fine with me. We don't want to turn it on yet. So we need to go into our grid view. We need to add some fields to this. And specifically, there are three relationships we want to make. They're all going to be linking records. So where are my linked records? Does it look up? No, it's not that. Right. So this will be I would probably only need one field actually. Now that I'm thinking about this, we only need one, and we pull up all of the relevant ones that match what the person is looking for. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm not sure this will be exactly what I'm trying to do, but I'm happy with it. So we're going to call this a recommended no-code tools. We're going to allow linking to multiple records, require an entry in this field, create a backlink. Yeah, all those. Okay, now we're going to hop back over to our automation. And we're going to update the records. We're going to add a field. The field will be recommended no-code tools. We're going to replace the value, type or select from list. Let's see, can I find records? Yeah, so we have to find records in the no-code tools section. I'm just going to say find up to 5 records. So records by title, sure, condition. So condition is going to be, we'll start with, yeah, what's a good way to do this? Because if I query all 3 at the same time, you're good, Jessica, welcome back. If I query all 3 at the same time, it's highly unlikely they're actually going to find something that will work. And so we want to do 3 queries, one for like each of our three buckets. So let's approach it that way first. We're just going to say first bucket that we'll handle is model. Just say handles authentication is equal to, and ideally we can, oh, I can't pull in a field value here. Well, that's not good. I need to be able to fill this with the field from this trigger, but it does not let me. I can only select yes or no. Huh. Well, that's a little frustrating. Can I not select anything? So interface design flexibility. What can I do is equal to value in? Nope. 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 No, it's just high, medium, no. I cannot select something other than that. Fascinating. Okay, let's try one more test. It's greater than use data from trigger. See that? I would love that. Why, why is that? Why is that not an option for these other two? Uh, odd. Use data from trigger. So, well, there's no data from the trigger. So if we do maybe like a description, all I can only do is empty on text. Wow. Okay, so I will, oh, contains. That's what we're looking for. Can I do this? Well, there we go. Like fields from trigger. This is okay. Thinking this through, guys. It won't let me use data from the trigger if it's a yes, no field, but it will let me use data from the trigger if it's a text field. So, do we create a field for all of these Booleans that turns it into text? Because then we could check and see if it's yes or no.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that feels like a little bit of an oversight. It's like
Right?
I can only do these three. So let me write that down. I know the like
Yeah, there's got to be a better way. I mean, that might be, the end result, if there isn't, but that feels weird.
yeah. And honestly, I might be able to use Zapier instead of SmartSuite to
Hmm.
build the automation since I'm already going to be using it to uh, to update the individual. So it might make more sense actually for Zapier to update the record and then send them a link to the record so they can view it. Uh,
Hmm.
so maybe that's my approach. Hmm. But let me just take a note on this. So SmartSuite, I guess querying tables without building direct relationships be super nice. I still feel like that's possible. I honestly feel like I've seen people do that in dashboards, which is why I'm like, okay, I'm probably just not well versed enough to know how to do that. Um, Querying tables without building direct relationships, one, and then to be using trigger slash previous steps data in yes, no, and single select fields. Okay. Using trigger slash previous step data in yes, no, and single select fields. Okay. All right. Well, I think my plan then is just to use Zapier. And I'm definitely not going to take the last 5 minutes to dive into that. We will not make it far enough. Uh, so I'm going to save this automation and I'm going to call that a success. We made it pretty dang far. We've got all of our data, our ducks in a row as far as data goes. I feel like how we're going to query them in, like we have a plan for it based on my current understanding. And we are poised to have that ready the moment I get that Zapier flow set up and functioning. Thanks so much, guys, for coming.
Yeah,
This is the
thanks.
first
This
time
is
I've
good.
done this. Yeah, I hope you learned a lot as I collided with the many knowledge barriers that I have.
Yeah, it's always good
Yeah,
to watch someone like working through a tool that I've never seen this tool before, so that was really cool for me.
yeah.
Hey, Sterling, what version? Do you have a paid version? Which version of it are you using?
So this is the free version,
Oh, you did a lot with the free version. Okay.
right? Yeah, SmartSuite. So this is one of the reasons why I chose SmartSuite is one, I know the founders. They invited my brother and I over for a little luncheon, and they fed me cookies. And so I mean, they have my loyalty forever just for the cookies. Two, I've used a similar software to this called QuickBase, and I've also tried to use another software like this called Airtables. And they all have their pros and cons. They all have things that they're good at, things that they're bad at. But I feel like this one has been the easiest to pick up and use of all of them. And two, they're adding features to it faster than any other tool out there. So not only are like the founders, Tara and John Derbyshire, they're very accessible through LinkedIn. Like they make themselves open. They're open to hopping on calls. They're open to feedback, which is why I took notes on these two things because I'll send this feedback to them, and they'll likely add something like this, or at least add to the roadmap, right? So those two, three things I think kind of make this my software of choice over all the others.
Sweet. I liked it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, John. I have to get onto I've got another meeting shoot up, but thank you for doing this. I appreciate
Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
appreciate
playing.
you.
Nice
Thank
seeing
you.
you,
I
Sarah.
will see you guys next week. Yeah, I'll be
Yep.
doing this every week.
Very
Sounds good.
cool. Thank you.
Let's build
Bye.
something.
See ya.
See you, friends.